Hello, Facebook. I'm joined by Tony Robbins, the author of his latest book, Unshakeable, which comes out today. Tony, thank you so much for joining us here at Nasdaq.
Great to meet you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So, for our friends on Facebook, tell us a little bit about Unshakeable.
Well, I really wanted to write a book. I wrote a book 5 years ago. I spent 5 years writing, where I interviewed 50 of the smartest people in the world financially, from the Warren Buffetts to the Carl Icahns. But there's so much fear in the world today, right? So much fear in the markets around the world, so much volatility. And I wanted to do something that would protect people, that would literally show them that everyone knows, we're going to have a crash. You don't have to be reactionary. This is the second largest bull market in history, coming up on 8 years. So the goal was, how do you protect yourself during that time? And ironically, it's not being in the market, which I'll explain later if you want. But also, how do you take advantage? Because if you are a millennial and you've got lots of debt, the next bear market is the first time you can make a big jump from where you are to where you want to be financially. If you're a baby boomer, you started late, it's the way to turn it around. So you can't afford not to read this book, and I donated 100% of it to Feeding America. We fed 200 million people the last 2 years. We're going to feed another 100 million. This will feed 50 million people. So every book feeds 50 people, so while you're changing your own life, you get a chance to also touch other people's lives as well.
That's so incredible, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you for ringing the bell with Feeding America.
My pleasure.
So in 2014, you did write your New York Times bestseller, Money Master the Game. What really inspired you to write this book following that one?
Well, part of it was doing an interview with former Fed Chief Alan Greenspan, 19 years the head of the Fed, most powerful guy in the world. They spent 2.5 hours with him privately and then 2 hours on stage. And we're talking about negative interest rates, first time in 5,000 years, the volatility in the markets, all the crazy things. And I said, if you were head of the Fed today, you were back ahead, what would you do? And he paused and he paused and he leaned in and he said, resign. So when I heard that, I started seeing there's so much fear. And then my partner in writing this book, Peter Mallouk, is the #1 rated wealth manager for 3 years in a row by Barron's. No one's done that for 3 years in a row, 2 years in a row. And during the last bear market, during the last crash, 2008, he did incredibly well. So I wanted to bring the best strategies to the average person, as well as people that are advanced investors as well.
Fantastic. So Tony, what are some of the key takeaways that readers should really get from Unshakeable?
I think the #1 piece is that you've got to become an owner. You can't just be a consumer, right? You've got to get in the game. And most people don't get in the game because they're afraid of failure. And these days, everyone's concerned, when will the market crash? There's only one longer bull market in history. And so what we really want to do is take the fear and get rid of it. So I'll give you a couple of really interesting facts. People are afraid of when the market's going to go crazy. Well, if you remember last January, we had a correction. We've had a correction every single year on average since 1900. And the average correction is just under 2 months, and it costs 14%. I always tell people the market never took any money from anybody. You took it by selling. 80% of those corrections bounce back. When you talk about a crash or a bear market, there's one about every 5 years. It's been 8 without one. And it lasts about a year. It costs about 33%. The big ones are over 40%. But during that time, it's one of the few times in history when everything goes on sale. If you love Ferraris and someone said, your favorite car, it's on sale for 50% off, you'd be out of your mind. But when Apple and Alphabet and Microsoft and all these companies go on sale, it literally is the biggest opportunity of your life. So we show you a playbook of what to do so if the market goes down, you don't get annihilated. And when it does go down, how to take advantage of it.
So Tony, I think the great thing about this book is it seems like you're helping people with the uncertainty they have about the financial markets.
Exactly.
You're teaching them the tools that they really need to understand and maybe play it smart.
Yeah, it's about, everybody knows the metaphor. If you're walking along at night and it looks like there's a snake there, you kind of freak out, go the other direction. You come back in the morning and it's a rope. Once you know it's a rope, there's no more fear. This book is really designed to take away that fear, give you a step-by-step plan to go from where you are to where you really want to be financially.
What are the 5 takeaways that somebody can take from this book where they can really put them actually into action?
Well, I'll tell you the 4 things that I interviewed these 50 unbelievable investors had in common. They're all different. I interviewed people that are macro traders. I interviewed people like Warren Buffett, right? Value people. I interviewed people that it's blood in the streets type of people. You buy when the world is going to hell. And they're all different, but they had 4 things in common real fast. #1, every single one of them was obsessed with not losing money. Guys like you and I tend to say, how do we make money for our companies, for ourselves as an investor? Their entire focus is not losing money because they know if you lose 50%, it takes 100% get even.
Well, it's about becoming comfortable with risk.
Well, it's more than that. These guys are obsessed with not being comfortable with risk. They don't want to take risk. In fact, the second key that they do is they all are focused on asymmetrical risk reward. Most people think the most successful investors take huge risks to get huge rewards. And in reality, they take the least risk humanly possible to get the largest upside. So their whole focus is, how do I get a 3-to-1 or a 5-to-1? If I risk $1, try to make 5, and I'm wrong, I can be wrong 4 times and break even. So they have a completely different approach. They're all very focused, thirdly, on tax efficiency, because you only have the money you get to keep. And fourthly, it's all diversification. And those 4 things fundamentally are the frame from which you start to design a portfolio.
Fantastic. So Tony, talk to us a little bit about your partnership with Feeding America and the 100 Million Meal Challenge.
Well, I was fed when I was 11 years old. My family was brought food on Thanksgiving, and I never forgot it. It wasn't just the food, it was the fact that strangers cared about us. So I decided when I was 17 years old to feed 2 families. And next year I said I'm going to double it 4 and then 8, and I got my small company involved. Eventually I got to 2 million people a year, and then I started matching it myself, so 4 million people a year. And then when I wrote this first book, Money Master the Game, I'm interviewing all these billionaires, and I'm watching Congress cut the SNAP program, which is food stamps basically, by $6.9 billion. It means every family in need has to go without food 1 week out of the month unless the private sector steps up. So I'd fed 42 million people in my entire life, and I said, what if I fed 50 million this year? So I donated all the profits to my first book, $5 million. That gave me the leverage to do it, and I put matching dollars, and then we've done it again last year, and we're going to feed 1 billion people over the next 8 years. And I chose Feeding America because they're the most efficient. They're the best in the country. They have 200 different food banks, and anybody who's watching, I'll match you up to $5 million. You want to put $10 in, $1 million in, I'll match you. All you have to do is go to feedingamerica.org for the Tony Robbins Challenge or the 100 Million Meals Challenge, and I'll match you.
Tony, that's incredible. And I understand that your kind of mantra is that the secret to living is giving.
It really
Talk
is.
to us a little bit about what that means to you.
Well, the last chapter of the book, after we've shown people how to go from where they are to where they want to be financially and given them all these cool strategies from the best investors in the world, I then come back and say money won't make you happy, because it's true. Money makes you more of what you are. You know, if you're mean, you have more to be mean with. If you're giving, you have more to give with. But I really have found that, and it's not just me, research that they've done today on your biochemistry shows you get more pleasure out of giving than you ever do for receiving. They can actually measure the hormone changes in your mouth today. Giving to a stranger will do that to you. Giving to somebody you love takes it off the charts.
Incredible. Well, Tony, my last question is, people love to see you. Is there a New York event that somebody can come see you at sometime soon?
Yeah, in July. I'll be here in the summer, July 20th through the 23rd. I'll be here at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. We'll have about 10,000 people, 12,000 people. And anyone who's interested, go to our website at tonyrobbins.com.
Well, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook. And Facebook, you can pick up Unshakeable today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks.